So our next performer tonight goes by the name of Jay Puffin. Jay Puffin, come on up, man. Good. How are you, bro? Here, we'll hold on. Make sure you got a mic and we aren't tangled up here. There you go.
Thank you, thank you. It's good to be back. It's my second time at the Duncan Showroom, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah. That's dope.
Once again, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming out again. I appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. So for those that don't know you, where are you from?
Originally born in Nanaimo, raised on Gabriola Island. I now live in Nanaimo, so.
Oh, dope. How's Gabriola Island life?
It's good. Like, as a kid, it kept me out of trouble, I guess, in a sense. Also, it's slow, man. It's slow. It's like you got to like settle in and live that island time lifestyle where, yeah, deadlines, they don't mean anything, right? Like,
Yeah, just everything slows down, eh?
Totally.
That's killer. How long ago did you start rapping?
I think back in elementary school, my first rhyme was like a Run DMC, like, my name is Eric and I'm here to say I like playing with dinosaur toys every day. Like, so that would be like the first time. That doesn't really count. Is that Sugar Hill Gang? Yeah. Old school, right? But then, in the end of elementary school and the beginning of high school, I was a drummer for like a punk band.
Oh, sick.
So I really looked up to my guitarist, Owen, R.I.P. He's no longer with us, but he was a big influence on me. So he came from a very musical family, and I didn't. So that's why I was the drummer. Like, he was a bass player, and he really idolized a lot of rock stars and like read their bios and all this kind of stuff. And he wanted to be like Flea from the Chili Peppers. So we had a Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band, and like a Nirvana cover band, and like Offspring and Green, all that stuff from back in like 92 or 93, 94-ish. And I remember hearing a bit of NWA in elementary school. I didn't really understand the lingo back then because I was too young, but I remember hearing it again in like grade 9 and kind of getting into that. I was getting into girls and stuff like that at that time. So I kind of like was interested in that, Too Short and whatnot. And so I guess I didn't really start rapping really until I was like 18, 19. So a lot of kids start really young these days, and I was a bit like I did a bit, but I was in the music scene. There was like a real big punk scene in the 90s in Nanaimo.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
that was crazy. That was quite the experience. And just recently I went to back in those days, like 97 Warped Tour or something. Pennywise headlined.
Yeah.
And I went
Pennywise.
to Ozfest, and Slayer was there. I went to see Slayer. And I just recently, both those bands came back to town in the last couple of years to Vancouver. So I went and like revisited my childhood, went and saw Pennywise again and saw Slayer again. So that was Slayer's farewell tour and all that. So that was a good experience. It was nice getting back to roots and stuff like that. But I think what really got me into hip hop was back when I was in high school, the Telepathics.
Yep.
From Gabriola Island.
Midnight and Deluxe.
Midnight Deluxe, Rob the Viking before he was Rob the Viking.
He was DJ Unique, right?
Broke Styles, I believe.
Oh, Broke Styles. Okay, yeah.
So, and also Colin and Lee from back then Creative Minds.
Yep. I remember that.
Then became Sweatshop Union, part of Sweatshop Union, and now are part of Pigeonhole. So those guys all went to my high school, and even though I was like, I'd go to like party with my punk band guy friends, and we do that, but then when it came to like getting drunk and going to like a big rager party, it was always like a hip hop scene.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. So it was kind of, those were the guys like freestyling out in the backyard before they all went on to get quite a bit of fame and notoriety in the 2000s with Swollen Members and Sweatshop Union. So just seeing those guys basically being like, your neighbor or your friend or your high school buddy, and then they go on to achieve all this. It kind of puts that little idea like, well, maybe I could do that too, right? Maybe if you follow your dreams, you never know, right?
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with it, I guess, and as well my cousin Devi D.
Yep.
He was very close with them, and kind of kept ties with them and just sort of had connections he moved to Vancouver and had lots of connections in the hip hop game. And so, yeah, just those kind of guys. And Midnight, because he's from Gabriola as well, he kind of came back. We did a couple jams with Devi back, I think, 10 years ago or something now. So those are the kind of guys that, I looked up to. And they're all easy to get along with because I knew them, right? So it wasn't like a starstruck thing where it was like, you know what I mean? Like it's just your homie or whatever. So it's always good. They're all humble guys and cool.
I remember our first show that we did out of town, like out of Duncan when we were first starting. It was with Telepathics back in the day. It was at I can't even remember the spot, but now it's a flower shop, which is really random. But we did a hip hop show in there, and it was really dope.
Sweet.
And,
yeah,
XIB Vines.
Right, Vines. You forgot about Vines for a sec there, but yeah, Vines and DCO and all those guys.
Yeah, DCO beats. Yeah.
Really, kind of like. I remember meeting Mocha on Gabriola when he was doing Coffee Talk with Telepathics, and like, because Jonah would always drive the limo and stuff. So like those guys were like kind of a big deal. You're in high school and these guys are rolling limos and like, so yeah, those guys are influential for me, I would say.
For sure. Have you always been a solo artist, or have you ever been in a group with anybody, or?
Yeah, well, like I know you through my friend Berg.
Yep.
And we were homies, and that was kind of like Switzenberg kind of thing. I'd go by Switz then, and and we had sort of when we started like getting a bit more serious. Shout out to JB1, Mr. Joel Branch, Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, JB1.
He kind of pioneered the like to get better and to get serious, and he kind of bought the equipment, and that was our first group was Island All Stars.
Dope.
Gabriola's Island All Stars. It was just a burned CD that I'd sell for like $5 if around town. So so that was that, and then they kind of branched off into the Champions, and me and Berg kind of stuck with that. But then I just found that relying on other people sometimes I'm a bit of a procrastinator myself sometimes. So just doing solo tracks that way, like if there's a show and they're not there, it doesn't fall through. So just kind of so that's kind of why I've always just been a solo artist for the most part.
Yeah, fair enough. I know that very well. Most of my songs are featuring other people, and that's why at shows a lot of times you'll see me do one verse and a hook because it's just the way it is, right? It's just the way it is. How many projects have you released? Like albums, EPs, compilations, whatever. Would you say
I think about 6?
6, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But recently, like my first 2 records was very much like I wanted to be organic. The funny thing is, back then, because DJ Steelos, got to give a shout out to DJ Steelos.
Absolutely.
And and some of the people from Homegrown INC back in the day in the Nano that were kind of the big names. And he started with Music Generator.
I remember that.
Yes, Music Generator for PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And so that was like the party house. We'd go there and have these hip hop parties, and I looked up to these guys. And when PlayStation 2 came out and Music Generator 2 came out, DJ Steelos upgraded to that.
Nice.
And I bought his original one off him and started tinkering with making my own beats. Now, if you listen to my first album, they're a bit questionable, but they were organic, and that was really important to me then, to have my own sound, even if it sucked, right? But and right around the time that CD came out, 50 Cent like started the mixtape game, because before we were doing, I don't know if you guys are, I'm like really showing my age here. We used to do stop tapes.
Yep. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Where you basically loop a sloppy loop on a cassette, dubbing it.
Yep.
And so that was kind of like mixtape, where you're using famous beats and rapping over it. And I always wanted to have my own sound, so I made my own beats. They weren't that banging, but and then right when I dropped it, it was like now mixtapes was in, and everyone's rocking like ganked beats, and so it kind of was like, what the hell, right? But that's just you gotta change with the times, I guess. And and then DJ Steelos recorded my first 3 records, and the first 2 took like 5 years for me to make. I was a lot of learning processes going on there. So, and I had, I was playing hockey and I was partying and I had like all sorts of different stuff. I played softball for a while and all this kind of stuff. And really didn't like I really notice nowadays the people that are really successful, they're like workhorses. It's like eat,
they hustle.
breathe,
Yeah.
shit, rap music, right? And being like a drummer, I'd have jams with my friends and still try to hold on to all these so it seems like a jack of all trades that kind of it's hard to be the master of one when you're spreading it so wide kind of so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with my first 3 albums were all very organic and original and all that. But then, like you're saying, we were talking about before, when you do collabos and then you're not friends with them or you lose touch with them and they're not there. So, or you just drop the ball, you realize later that wasn't a good idea. And so now I've been pumping out a record every year, even more so, but they're all mostly remixes. So it's not as fresh as sort of but I getting older, I'm like, I can't take 5 years to do another record, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Next thing, so it'll be like the anyways, so I've been doing that, doing the remix albums, and I haven't started. I would like to get another record done for this coming summer, because that's kind of part of the game is getting that new release in the summer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I always spent my time writing, recording, and all that kind of stuff, even producing when I was dabbling in that. So now I was doing the remix stuff, trying to get product out. And coming from Gabriola, I remember my first show in Nanaimo was a big deal for me, right? Because it was coming from such a small town and then getting stuck in Nanaimo, and then even a couple of shows in Vic, couple shows in Van here and there. But I really wasn't doing live shows that often, like I would want to, be on tour or on the road or whatever. So about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I saved up a bunch of money at work and I quit my job to basically try and do more shows and focus on the managerial aspects of it instead of just the artist aspects of it. So, and that's why I was doing the remixes, because my time was being spent doing other things.
Right.
So, and that worked out well. So in the last year and a half, I've been pretty steady doing shows maybe not, not every day, but at least if not every week, at least every month, at least, or a couple times a month. So
Yep.
not too much time goes on without doing a show. And I've done pretty much all. I still haven't
been
outside of BC, but I've done pretty much most of the places on Vancouver Island, which is not huge, but it's a start. And
absolutely, man.
And it's fun, and it just it's every time you're doing a show for the first time in a new venue, you look forward to it. You're like, it's going to be so big. There's going to be so many people there. The crowd is going to be huge. You have those dreams of grandeur and whatnot. So, and that's what keeps you going. And just, I guess, 2 years ago was my first time here in the Duncan showroom. And I still haven't done Parksville. Another little bucket list. But I've done Ucluelet and Tofino and Vic. And I still haven't done Ladysmith, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So we'll take over Ladysmith too. Yeah. What is your favorite hip hop moment that you've experienced so far since you've been an MC? If you can.
Yeah,
pick
there's
one.
a bunch. Like I said, even my first show in Nanaimo was a big deal. I had a double encore one time that was really awesome to have that much love from the crowd and to have the place just blow up. And the first track I did with Rob the Viking was really big for me. Knowing him, I grew up with, I was best friends with his younger brother, so I've known him for a long time, family friends. So with all the success that he's had, it was really nice to, he's such a humble guy too. And
yeah, super humble guy.
And so that was really important to me. And I'm going to perform the song tonight, my last song. And I kind of changed it up. Instead of the J Puffin persona that I usually go on, I kind of made it a bit more real and a bit more humble and friendly and all that kind of stuff.
That's sweet. So where can people find your music at if they want to search you out?
Good question. So I was talking about how I wasn't doing the managerial aspects before. Also, I was struggling with my online presence. And since doing more shows, more tours, also I've been focusing on my online presence. So I've been trying to build my YouTube page up and get more subscribers. So if you guys out there, you like my music later, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I mostly check your stuff out as on YouTube for sure. Yeah.
Right. Also, there's all the major platforms. I've got it on DistroKid, so they kind of like put it on the different platforms for me.
Everything, yeah.
So you can just Google it or put it in the search bar. And
Shout out to Deezer once again. Deezer in the
might
house.
not be on that one.
I think everybody's on Deezer. They just don't know it yet.
Oh yeah.
What? So do you have any new projects coming out? Like, are you working on an album presently, or?
I should really start soon. Kind of.
Right
We were doing these Your Whack videos for the last little bit, and I'm not sure what's happening in the new year. I haven't really planned that far ahead, but definitely, if I want a new record to promote this summer, got to get in the lab. And with COVID and everything kind of being shut down a bit, it's like the best time to be recording and working on your music.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good time for writing. I mean, what else you got to do, right?
I just want to go back to the question before about some of the better moments. One of my better moments was when I opened. Shout out to JB1 again for making me his hype man on that, because it was his show, it wasn't my show. I was just his hype man, but he had a opening gig for D12 and Dub C and Trick. So that was a pretty big one for me in Nanaimo. As well as I opened for Master Ace in Nanaimo. So that's like golden era MC, like that's pretty awesome. So
yeah, that's killer.
Other than that, I did like one verse for when Two Live Crew was in town, and it was only half of Two Live Crew because they were split up. They're split up at the moment, and they're fighting over who gets to use the name or whatever. But that was pretty important because like you remember back in like '89 when that was like you couldn't like not know Two Live Crew, right?
Yeah. Everybody was singing that song back then.
You don't want to tell your parents that you're listening to it, but yeah, you probably heard it.
Absolutely.
So that was awesome. Those are probably my best, like for like big names that I've opened for.
Yeah.
So that's memorable and all that kind of stuff.
Killer, man. Killer. Well, I'm going to get out of your way and let you perform some songs, man.
All right.
So thanks again, Jay Puffin, for coming out. You guys check out his music on YouTube. Anywhere else you can find it, check it on Deezer, because everybody's going to Deezer. Deezer, man. When you're on DistroKid, they upload it to all these platforms. Deezer just happens to be one of them. So anyway, Jay Puffin, y'all make some noise, Jay Puffin.